Hey folks, Lester here. I want to say thank you to the kind lady who sent me this hat in the mail. The letter says she's very concerned about sun damage to my ears and to my neck and just my face in general. So she wants me to stay protected, and she sent me a little bit of her personal story and some of the struggles that she's had. She was one of those who went out in the 70s and used to just put oil over her entire body and just go out and just bake in the sun. And she says she's paying for it now. So thank you for the hat. It's not really my style, but you know what? I'm just going to stop tipping my hat for sure. I will say one last thing. It has a really neat Texas flag logo on the front of it. And you know, the Texas flag has one star, and they call us the Lone Star State. Here's a part of history you might not know because Jamie had no idea. Do you guys know that for a while, Texas was our very own country? Texas was our very own country. We had we'd fought and won our independence from Mexico, and we had created our very own country. It was a really neat and funny shaped Texas during that time. And then, of course, later on, we ended up joining the United States and becoming one of the other stars. But we still keep our Lone Star as part of our flag, and we are still known as the Lone Star State. But isn't that interesting? All right, well, I got work to do in the sun, so y'all just join me. It's going to be funner and gooder. Funner and gooder, y'all. I hope you guys are able to excuse all of the racket. I want to show you something kind of funny, and it's not that right there. There's nothing funny about that right over there. You all know how I feel about no one touching me when I'm hot. When I'm hot and sweaty, and no one needs to be getting on top of me. And then all that racket is just not cool. Hey, corny. But what I want to show you that's kind of funny is this over here. It's funny and it's not funny. So obviously at some point, either Ben, Ellie, maybe Jake needed some staples. I guess they were able to read to find out that this is the box of staples. Well, they could not figure it out. They could not figure out how to remove the lid. So instead, it looks like they must have took a hammer and just beat their way into it instead of trying to figure out how to remove the lid. Now listen, let's not make fun, y'all. Let's not make fun, because I think that we've all been there in a place where we're not exactly sure how to get into something. We've all struggled trying to get the jar of pickles open or whatever, the ketchup jar. But I'll show you real fast, and maybe the boys can use this as a reference. Look, here's a slot right here. Here's a little groove. Now, if no one's ever taught them this, they may not know. So what I can sometimes do is get me a pair of scissors, pop that open, okay? You got to pop that open. And now it's a simple matter of, I might not be able to do it with one hand. Now you just got to get a grip on it, and you just pull this around. You just pull this around. Oh, poor kids. Guys, it's we can all laugh at the kids if y'all want to, but we're not laughing at them. I hope that you realize we're not laughing at them. We're just, there's things that if you don't teach somebody something, then they never learn. I can't, now even Lester can't do it with one hand. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying to video and open this at the same time. But that lid now, I'm going to leave the lid here, but I will let the boys know that when you get into staples, that's how you do it the proper way. You don't just beat a hole to the top of the lid. Oh, I love them, y'all. We can love them and still laugh at them. Why don't y'all understand that? I don't know why y'all can't understand that concept. You can love them and still laugh at things they do. Gosh. So you all know that I've been working on the fence over here to the bullpen in preparation for Jake bringing Santoro over. What I did not do last time is put my panels back up. And you have to do that, especially for a bull. You don't want to give them any way to put their head through anything. If you don't have your panels up, they'll put their head through. they get their head through, they'll start pushing. So if I was to leave the fencing like it is like right now, with this 1.5 foot space between it, between both boards, sorry, I'm breathing hard, and Santoro puts his head in between here and he sees daylight, he'll start pushing, using his strength to get through, and he'll finally push the fence over, break the boards. So instead, sorry, you put these panels up, and that prevents heads from going through. So the most he can do is lean on the fence, which this fence, you can see from the lean, has been leaned on many a times from Tex, his daddy. So anyway, I drug my panels all the way over. Now we're gonna hang them up. I'll show you what I do as a secret to help me. I always put me a screw and I'll hang the panel on that while I staple it in. I'll show you. Looky here. So now I have it hanging there, and I also have the other side hanging. So now all I have to do is get my staples and staple that in. Isn't that smart? Isn't that smart? I didn't think you could overdose on pain. Now whenever I do the things we did, it doesn't feel the same no more. All right, so the pasture's all ready for Santoro. What I'm gonna do now though is bring in my bush hog and go ahead and cut this grass down a little bit. Right now it's too high. Believe it or not, there's too much grass for him. And he would end up not being able to chew through all this thick stuff. So I'll bring in the bush hog, and we're going to cut it down to about 3 or 4 inches, knock off all of these seed heads, and at that point we'll let Jake know that we're ready when he is. Good sign. Something must have caught a chicken or a guinea. I have a question for you all. This is kind of like a trivia question to see how farm smart you are. All right, so why do you think it is that the grass grows so much thicker in these pastures than what it does in our hayfield? Once again, if you watch any of our videos, you know that we just got this hay cut recently. And even though we were happy to get the 26 rolls, this field should produce between 40 and 50 each cut. So why is it that this pasture here does not produce as much as this one here? And don't forget, this one here has animals that can actually still graze on it. They do. So why is it so much thicker? I would like for you to give your ideas in the comments. And at the end of the video, I'll come back and I'll tell you the reason. So once again, we have our hay fields that we do not let animals graze on. And the grass production there is a whole lot less than what we have over on these pastures where we do let our cows graze. How is that possible? All right, friends, so the pasture has now been cleaned up and we are ready for Santoro. I will go fill up the water trough and have all the water ready. He does have shade and shelter over there. He also has shade with these trees over here. You guys know that both Tex and Carl spent lots of time in this pasture. Has great fencing and wonderful grass. There is fresh water and shade, shelter. So he's going to be fine. Now, if you're wondering how long he'll be here, that's up to, depends on how long it takes us to find the right home. The one thing you never have to worry about with any of our cows, as our pure breeds, is that they'll never be processed. Guys, people do not buy Longhorns for processing, especially with bloodlines like Santoro has. Santoro will eventually find himself an amazing home, hopefully he'll become the herd bull, and he'll have his very own, well, herd of lady friends. Now, we belong to an association, and so that's where we'll put the listings first. I had asked local guys around Longhorn Lusters, but no one really seems to need a bull right now. And as you guys know from watching plenty of other channels, you don't go through bulls yearly. You know, your bull will pretty much stay the course for many years. And so Santoro will find a great home, but we have to make sure that we put him out there. And once they figure out who he is and who he's related to, I'm certain we'll find a wonderful home for him. I can answer that trivia question right quick, though. You're wondering, why does this pasture over here, the one behind it, why does it have so much amazing grass, whereas our hayfield does not do that well? Guys, it's real simple. It's because we use the harrow. We let the animals graze, and we come along once a week if we can, and we drag our harrow all around the pastures, spreading in all of that mulch, that manure. And so what that does, in essence, it fertilizes your pastures. And so you get good rain, and it's been fertilized from their own manure, and you get just amazing grass. If you're asking how come we don't let our cows run on our hay fields to make them have just as amazing grass, well, number one, that's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. Number two, it's not fenced. And so I'm not going to build fences on land that's not mine. That would be foolish. That would be foolish to build fencing around or on land that's not mine. And I will say one last thing. There have been offers, and Joanne has no interest in selling that at all. So that's not going to happen. Last thing, why didn't we let Mr. Ed bale these pastures over here? Mr. Ed could not get his equipment into tight spaces. And Mr. Ed come by, he did look at the pastures, but he knew they were too small to navigate his large equipment into and around. So it wouldn't have been worth his while. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover. I'm going to go ahead and take the mower down while I have it and clean up around the tree where my animals, my Longhorns, are all resting. I noticed last time that those weeds are pretty high, and you don't want your babies laying in weeds. Do you know all the work we're doing for you? Do you have any idea how much work we're all doing for you? He's a great looking bull. He really is. He's just magnificent. He's like, I ain't gave no one permission to be in videos. Okay, well, there you go. He's just gonna go right behind that bush where I can't video him. Hey, sweetie! So I heard a horrible flapping sound, and you can see that I picked up some string while I was mowing. So I have to crawl under here and cut all that out. What I have to do first is brace this thing off so it can't accidentally come crushing down on top of me, because that has happened and people have died working on their tractors. All right, this over here is the brace we're going to use to hold the bush hog up while I go under to work. I will take a couple of box cutters and a pair of scissors for just in case. And this is not fun part of farming. This is not the kind of stuff that people like to see. They want to see the petting zoo side of farming, and unfortunately I have to get this done first. So let's see what mess we got here. Come on. Gia, sweetie, I love you, but I don't want to make something dirty and hot. But look at all this, huh? Gia, stop doing you. She got some wide hips. Come on. Come on. We're about to load some green hay for the other cows and horses, goats, for the other property. Come on, babe. The less I gotta load, the better. Or the less distance I have to move, the better. Hold on 1 second.
Don't let your troubles fester. Come watch Longhorn Lester.
Yeah, something like that.